I feel very proud that I've got into this college.
What was the specific moment that got you interested?
So I come from a background where my father has a software business. So I thought that if I got into a good enough college for MBA, I go there, make the connections I require, and just grow as a person, and then come back and help him out.
Can you share some information as to what specific benefit or advantage you received by leveraging these resources?
There was a phase when SIMCAT 7, 8, 9, I ended up on a -2, -3 and a -4. So I went to my mentor in Ghatkopar, which was Ashish sir.
Tell me about the B schools that you were targeting.
So I was aiming for Blackie at the time I took my admission and thought of giving the CAT.
Any other non-IIM B schools that accept the CAT, were they there in your?
Yeah, so I applied to IIT Bombay, SPJMR and ISB. I think each interview was a very different experience. My first one was IIM Indore. Next was SP.
What about the next one?
IIT Bombay ended out to be a very technical interview. Post that, IIM Lucknow. Next one was ISB. So one thing about ISB interview is that whatever you have written in your resume, which has to be submitted earlier, they try to go through each of those things.
Hi everyone, welcome to IMS. Today we bring to you an exciting success story from one of our super achieving IMS students, Darsh Shah. He is going to be a part of the founding cohort of the ISB PGP YL program, and today we are going to have a short chat with him to understand how was his preparation like, what was his interview experience, and what tips would he have for future aspirants. Hi Darsh, how are you?
Very good.
Okay. How do you feel like?
I feel very proud that I've got into this college. It has been an experience for the past year that a lot of people try, but I feel I've been very lucky that I got in here.
And when did you start with your preparation?
I started in April. I joined IMS, and for the first 6 months, I was prepping for CAT. I gave only CAT. I didn't give any other entrance exams.
All right.
And post that was the GDPI preparation.
And where did you study with IMS?
It was in Ghatkopar branch.
So in the classroom?
In the classroom, yeah.
All right. And can you tell us a little bit about your profile, your academic profile, your journey from 10th standard to now?
Right, yeah, of course. So I have done my schooling from St. Gregorius High School. It's a school, ICSE school in Chamber. I got a 97% in my 10 boards. At that time, I was very much involved in sports. I have been a national level athlete. I was a sports captain in my school. And so I've set a few state level records in shot put and discus throw as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's fantastic. And I'm sure then you must be following a lot of the Olympians.
Yeah, I try to, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what about your 12th standard?
So I had done that from KJ Somaya College. Okay. So I got a 96.7% in 12th as well. Post that, I joined my engineering in Sardar Patel Institute of Technology. It's in Andheri. And during that time, I was involved in a lot of extracurricular as well. I was the chairperson of my college fest called Oculus, where I led a team of 250 people to execute this. With that, I tried pursuing an entrepreneurial venture called Smart Energy, which was a simulation software that helps promote the tonnage of an AC required, and thereby it promotes sustainability.
Fantastic.
So with that, I scored an 8.5 GPA in college. So I tried to balance this and that as well.
Yeah.
And that's in my third year when I decided to give my CAT and do an MBA.
Fantastic. And from what you're describing, very little from what you've described so far, I can already see that you have a very, very balanced profile in terms of fantastic academics, as well as fantastic, even more fantastic extracurriculars that you've pursued. You said that you got interested in taking the CAT and starting with the preparation in your third year. Right?
Yeah.
So what was the specific moment that got you interested in, deciding that you want to have a management career?
So I come from a background where my father has a software business. So I was pretty sure down the line, 2, 3, 4 years, going ahead, taking some experience, I want to join back. So I didn't want to delay my education by say 3 years I work and then I join an MBA and then I come back. So I thought this was a long time when I actually came back. And there's a scope where I wanted to join in as soon as possible. So I thought that if I got into a good enough college for MBA, I go there, make the connections I require, and just grow as a person, and then come back and help him out.
Fantastic. So you eventually want to get back into your family business.
Yeah, of course.
And can you share some light on what your family business does?
So it's a software company where we have clients in the US regarding industrial automation. So we send people from India and we work for them on site.
All right. And do you have any particular memories from the time that you began your CAT preparation. What did you feel like in that moment? What were you looking at? And now today, thinking back to that moment, what do you feel like?
So I got into CAT preparation and I found out my weakest portion was DILR.
All right.
So there was a range of SimCats where I've scored a negative in DILR as well.
Oh, is it?
And my highest score in SimCats was around 20 in DILR.
Yeah.
So at that time I was pretty down because I'm not able to get back because I've been pretty good at academics throughout. So 10th, 12th, be it the CET or the GE examinations, I have tried to do decent with. But I was not able to catch up with DLR. So, but I tried a lot. I spoke with a few seniors as well, and they guided me, and the faculty at IMS, of course. So they guided me on the path how I should get started with double digits at first.
Correct.
From the negative. So I ended up doing well in that.
And this is a common observation of a lot of aspirants, right? That DILR happens to be a little bit on the weaker side for them. And many of the aspirants actually share stories like this where they actually start with negative in this particular section. And you spoke about SimCats, you spoke about IMS mentors. Can you share some information as to what specific benefit or advantage you received by leveraging these resources?
So I used to give SimCats regularly. So that was a very good source because I think it was very scheduled. So I had set up a schedule where every Sunday morning I used to sit and I used to give the SimCat and evaluate it on Tuesday. But there was a phase when SimCat 7, 8, 9, I ended up on a -2, -3 and a -4. So I went, after 3, 4 SimCats, I was like, I need to do something at this stage because this won't work. So I went to my mentor in Ghatkopar, which was Ashish sir.
Okay.
And I spoke with him because I'm scoring a 0 and a negative. So what should be my point from it? Because I'm able to solve these kind of questions when I'm sitting. I'm able to solve maybe one question. But what he said, I think, was something that stuck with me. He said that choosing the right set is the most important thing. You just solve one set right now. But you have to select, you put 10 minutes in selecting which set it is that you want to attempt. And you go ahead with that set. Spend 30 minutes on that set. You aim at getting one set right. And I started using that on and ahead, and I slowly became better at it.
No, this philosophy of quality over quantity and this mentality of choosing the right set, this set selection approach becomes so important, and all of our IMS mentors are really expert at helping students identifying this. But how did you find the experience of learning in classroom versus studying, let's say, in a virtual environment?
So I feel a classroom is always a plus because you actually get to interact with students with you. So I have always felt that, of course, you'll get the same education in an online thing, but when you sit in the class, there's an environment where there are students who are competing. So you have a sense of competition where you have friends who are studying, you see that they are studying, and you get the motivation that you want to study. And with that, if you are in touch, if you meet your mentors regularly, I think that helps a lot rather than just having a virtual session.
Correct.
Because they're able to guide you much better. They see you, they talk with you, they understand your problems, and then they're able to guide you. And it's not a generic answer that they give you.
That's true. So a healthy competition from your peers as well as the opportunity to meet with your mentors. I think these would be the core things that you took away from the classroom experience.
Of course, 100%.
And what were your SimCat scores like, if you don't mind sharing with us? You mentioned about some negatives in the DILR section in between, but were there any ups and downs in the entire
So my
journey?
highest SimCat score has always been, was 80. And my average has always been around 65 to 70.
Okay.
So I never used to shine out in SimCats.
What was your final CAT percentile?
It was 110 marks and 99.57.
That's fantastic. So what was your highest SimCat percentile, if you can remember?
94.
Okay. So very close to the actual number that you received.
Yeah, of course.
And talk us about the test day, about CAT 2024. What was that test day experience like for you?
So firstly, I was glad my parents were able to drop me. They were with me throughout. They waited for me outside. So that was one part where I feel I was pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That gives a lot of confidence.
A lot of confidence. If it goes bad, it goes bad. You have your parents waiting outside for you and they are there.
Makes sense.
But I went in with no pressure at all because I wasn't scoring that high in SimCats. So I was pretty sure that, say, I'm not able to get a 99 in SimCats. So it was like, just go out there, give your best shot. If you do it, you do it. There's no sense because being a gem fresher and getting a blackie call, you need a 99 plus.
Correct.
So I could see I was not getting that in some cats, but that is why I went pressure free
Correct.
on that day.
They often say that, when you have nothing to lose is when you probably
Exactly.
end up doing the best. Do you remember your sectional percentiles? You mentioned
Yeah,
your
I
overall
remember
percentile.
them.
Yeah.
So DLR was the best. It was 99.7.
DLR was the best. See, that's the often the irony of life. Huh?
It was 99.7 DLR.
Okay.
VRC was 99 and Cons was 95.
And what happened in quants there?
So I think I made a lot of silly mistakes. The easiest questions are often the ones you end up losing your
Because
marks.
as an engineer, I would assume that you were pretty confident in the quant section.
So I remember my first SimCAT score in quants was around 23, 24. And on that day, I ended up scoring a 21. So again, that happens.
It happens. I mean, a lot of factors on test day, of course. And what matters is that you handsomely cleared the sectional cutoffs and you were able to receive a very good overall percentile. You spoke about Blackie calls in between. Tell me about the B schools that you were targeting.
So I was aiming for Blackie at the time I took my admission and thought of giving the CAT. So I gave only my CAT exam. I didn't give that. I didn't give any other examination because I was pretty sure I wanted to do a good college do an MBA from a good college. Otherwise, I won't pursue an MBA because I have my family business back to fall upon. So there was no pressure per se that I need to do an MBA. So I was pretty sure I wanted a Blackie call.
Got it. Yeah. So Blackie was your main target.
It was my target.
And of course, all the IIMs automatically because they accept the CAT. Any other non-IIM B schools that accept the CAT, were they there in your?
Yeah, so I applied to IIT Bombay, SPJMR and ISB. The ISB which I got into, they announced this in September that they are launching this YL program.
Correct.
So that's where I decided that I wanted to apply here as well.
And out of these B schools that you targeted, once you received your CAT percentile, which ones did you get an interview call from?
So I got from IIT Bombay, SP, IIM Indore, Lucknow, ISB. These are the 5 interviews I gave.
Sure. And do you want to walk us through what happened in some? We'll come to ISB of course later, but do you want to help us understand how the other 4 experiences were?
Of course.
Yeah, sure.
So I think each interview was a very different experience. My first one was IIM Indore. So I think that was my best shot at that time because I had not gotten my ISB interview call yet. So at that time it was only IIM Indore. And
what was the timeline of this?
So this happened in the first week of Feb.
Okay.
So the ISB interview call I got was around mid-Feb, Feb 14th.
Yeah.
So Indore was, of course, I went very nervous for the Indore interview.
Sure.
But it ended up going pretty decent. So they asked me about my academics of engineering as well, which I was not very thorough with. But yeah, it was pretty decent because they ventured into a lot of my hobbies. So because I come from a background where I have a profile in sports, they asked me those questions about Olympics, who's your favorite sportsman in India, about the agencies who handle Olympics and so on. So that was some stuff that I had actually prepared.
Correct.
And they asked me about my hobbies in general. I like to cook. So that's what they were asking me as well.
You have a really interesting profile, I must say. Huh? Cooking, sports and good academics. I would be interested to know even more about your profile. But tell me, what was the other next interview that you took?
Next was SP.
Okay.
So SP, there's a tradition in SPJMR where they don't take in freshers. The fresher percentage is very less and they only take in for marketing. So I'd applied for marketing. I got a call because of my CAT score as well. I went there and the interview process is very unique. I enjoyed that very well because it's a group interview.
Correct.
So we have 5 people who are giving the interview and 3 panelists.
Correct.
So, but I think my interview went pretty decent as well.
Did you end up going?
I did not end up, but I think that was a good day because I got my ISB interview call on that day.
Oh, okay.
Just as I came out from SP, I was rejected in GI2. I got my ISB interview call. But that interview was very unique because of the fact that I was the only fresher in my panel.
Ah, okay.
So there were 5 people. All the other 4 had around 4 to 5 years of work ex.
Interesting. Okay.
So
were they also applying to marketing or other specs?
They were 2 of them were in marketing, 2 of them were in BM.
Got it.
So the talks which were happening were very focused on their work ex, and that is where I think it lagged off quite a bit because the SP professors have limited things to ask me.
Maybe you also couldn't contribute
as
much as you would have liked.
Of course, I could not do that.
Yeah.
I come from that same college which was SPIT. So I tried referencing that as well. Ki I've sat with you, I've interacted with you guys,
Yeah.
but that didn't work out very well.
No, I'm sure, but the interview experience must have been good.
It was very good.
Yeah. What about the next one? IIT Bombay?
IIT Bombay ended out to be a very technical interview. So
as it usually is.
As it usually is.
Correct.
So like I said, I tried out an entrepreneurial venture as well. This was the first interview where they actually opened out that website. They asked me to put in values. They asked me to explain how I've done this. And I had taken the help of a friend to set up that website, to set up that code. And they were expecting me to be an engineer. I should be knowing all those stuff. I was able to explain the product, the idea, and the execution very thoroughly, but I was not able to explain the conceptual part.
Okay.
But that interview was pretty good as well. So again, they divulged into a lot of portions of my extracurricularism. So it went pretty good.
And did they ask you also about your UG academics?
No, they did not. Because this product was something they focused on a lot, as it was an entrepreneurial venture.
Okay.
Where I've created a website, where I've got 1,000 users for this, and I've gone to 50, 60
They made
homes.
you do that live in front of
Yeah, they made me try out this product,
Nice.
explain how each and every parameter is working.
That must have been a good experience.
It was a very good experience, and because I've done that particular thing, I was able to convey that message.
Was this a part of your final year project, or did you
No,
that
it
out
was
of your own
it was out of my
interest?
own. Yeah.
Okay. And then what was the next one?
Next one was ISB.
ISB. So total 4 or total 5?
And post that, I am Lucknow.
So let's talk about IIM Lucknow first.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
So
How
IIM
was
Lucknow
that
was
experience?
an agri-business management.
Oh, okay.
I went there just for the sake of the experience.
Okay.
But it was pretty decent. So they didn't actually go into any portion of agriculture for me.
Okay.
But the crowd which ends up getting into this course, a lot of the people are from that background. The agriculture, FABM, that's it. So I was not very keen on this course.
Anything memorable from that interview that you remember?
I think the peer interaction was very unique.
Peer interaction itself was unique.
Because the people, I interacted with 2-3 people. One of them told me that he had a farm back in his village.
Oh, okay.
It was
wonderful.
A very diverse crowd.
Yeah. And so it should be, right? For
Exactly,
someone who's looking into those programs. So let's come to ISB now. How? When did you said that you received it in April, the call.
So the timeline is such that firstly you have to write and submit essays.
Correct.
So there were 3 essays for the while.
When did that process begin?
The form filling started around November.
Okay.
The essays, the last date was December 15th.
Yeah.
So post my CAT, I had my final exams as well for that semester. So just as that got over, that entire phase, I was focused on the essays. So I think I interacted with 10-15 people, had them go through my essays, make changes, what if there's something I should be adding or not. Because very few colleges actually have such a high weightage on essays, especially if you're applying through CAT.
Correct.
The priority is marks, usually, because that's how you get the call. But
that's what makes this particular ISB PGP YL program, Young Leaders program, very different, right? Because back in the day, ISB was always known for people who had a certain amount of work experience. They were applying through non-CAT examinations, and then they open up this as a fresh blood into the ecosystem over there. And of course, they will put a lot of weightage into the essays. Any particular insights from the IMS ecosystem that helped you crack these essays? Something that benefited you?
Right. Yeah. Once I had a first cut for each of the 3 essays, I took a session with Vinaya ma'am in Ghatkar.
Okay.
And I asked her to go through these essays.
Yeah.
And there were minute changes in the storyline. So the thing is, each and everything should be linked. If you're starting with a particular thing, it should follow up. Sure. And the English should be very precise and concise, because you have a word limit. It's around 250 words or 300 words. Yeah. You have to convey the most important things in those lines. So actually getting out your points, which should be shining, was where she helped me with. The most important points that you should be expressing, rather than just having a storyline that I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yeah. And that's not the most important thing that you should.
Oh, it's so wonderful to know that, she was a instrumental part in terms of, crafting the final response that you gave as a part of the essay application. And then what happened after you submitted that application?
15 December was the deadline. Correct. I submitted that, and I got a call on 14th Feb. I got the interview call.
All right.
And my interview was in the first week of March. So I go there, and firstly we had to write 2 essays there as well. So those were situation essays where they ask, us things like, for example, you're in a workplace where there's XXX situation happening, how will you deal with this? So general
So
personal
something similar to a writing ability test, or
Right,
something
yes.
something like around those lines, but situational.
Situational. So that's your personal experience.
Yeah.
A VAT is generally something
on
that
a topic,
on a topic,
common topic. So yeah,
something that's a GK or
correct.
So this was what you feel about how you would react.
So what was the topic for you?
So I don't exactly remember, but
Okay.
it was in the lines of there's something happening in your workplace.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just recollected.
So, but
yeah.
they made you be in the position of someone in the workplace.
Right.
something
Yeah.
like that.
So I just recollected
Sure.
it. So for example, your peer is not performing very well in your workplace because he's going through personal situations.
Okay.
So how will you deal with that situation, considering the fact that you have to report to your office as well? So how will you deal with it?
Yeah.
So in those lines, how you usually write is, firstly, you take up the point that you understand that if a person is going through a personal situation, you try and help him out. So you do whatever is possible within your limits. But at the same time, you also inform him that the office is adhering to deadlines, and those need to be followed. If he's unable to do it, he should be expressing it ahead down the line.
So you were able to maintain a balanced approach in the answer.
I think that's very important.
Correct. And did you go into the interview? Of course, you must have prepared for the interview. You must have revised all the standard questions. We have a comprehensive GDPI prep as well. So any support that you received from the GDPI resources or from the mentors during this time of preparing for the different interviews?
So I'd given a few mock interviews as well.
Yeah.
I gave one offline, and for the SP one, I'd given 1-2 online group interviews as well.
Yes.
Each of those interviews gave me a realization that I need to work on this particular segment in my profile. So that's where I did something very different. I made a Google Sheets. I made 10-15 Google Sheets where I went through each aspect of my profile. For example, the first thing was sports. So I'd written around 50 to 100 questions related to sports that could be asked to me. And I used to keep revising each and every segment.
Wonderful.
For example, if I can just get into it.
Absolutely.
So, for example, my sport was under athletics. So, firstly, it was the GK. Who is currently participating, what is the record, etc., etc. And then there was a section about Olympics. If, for example, if I would be doing it, what changes would I be making? If India is hosting Olympics, how would it affect Indian sports? And in this order, I had done this for each and every aspect of my profile.
And how many such tabs?
I think around 10, 12 were there. Because there was your undergrad studies is also very important because they ask questions regarding
especially for a fresher like
for a fresher. That is very important.
Cool.
So I'd revised all my college subjects. So I kept making those Google Sheet tabs, which I used to keep revising.
Is this a technique that you devised yourself, or?
Yeah, I thought about it because if I have things structured, if, everything is actually divided, it'll be very easy to add new content and show it to someone if they can add anything or they can remove, say, this is not important, you don't need to do this.
Sure.
And the most important thing is you can keep revising it if and when you need it.
Correct.
For example, there was an aspect about my college fest. I was able to add a lot of things. I was able to show it to my friends, who were with me during the fest. Is there something you want to add over here? And they were able to help me out as well.
And the B School panelists are exactly looking for this structured thinking, articulate communication, precise communication. Many of the aspects that you mentioned are exactly the skills and the qualities that the B School panel is looking for. What happened on the day of that interview with ISB?
So my ISB interview started out pretty good. So I was waiting in the room where that sir came out. And because it was an offline interview, my father told me, if you're going there, shake hands with him. So I followed that. And it turned out pretty good. They all of them stood up, they shook hands, then we sat down. And the most interesting thing that happened here was one of my school and college friends who has a very similar profile.
Okay.
He went just before me.
Okay.
Who's sitting outside right now. So he went just before me.
Sure.
And they knew a lot of things that were already asked to them. Asked to him that they would be asking. So they cross-checked a lot of things. For example, my fest, he was a part of that fest as well. He was the finance head of that fest. And I was the chairperson of that fest. So they asked him key details about what was your revenue, what was your budget, who did you call in, how much was the footfall, and etc. And they verified it with me. So this is and he told me those things just before going. So
correct.
And in other aspects,
so they focused a lot on those aspects of your profile.
So they focused on each and everything. The ISB interview went on for an hour.
Went on for
1 hour, yeah. And firstly, they delved into AI because I was doing an internship at that time where I was trying out AI projects. So one thing about ISB interview is that whatever you've written in your resume, which has to be submitted earlier, they try to go through each of those things. And they try to go it in such a way that they won't ask you directly what you've done. So for example, there was a point where I said that I've mentored 50 students in my as a sports captain in my school. So they asked me indirectly, how was your experience where you were helping out students? So you have to connect those dots. Yes, I was a sports captain in my school. Yes, and what was my experience there? They don't tell that to you directly.
Correct.
And another thing they asked me was my favorite memory in college. The smart thing I did here, I feel, was I connected it to my college fest, where this opened an entire range of conversation for 15 minutes that went in how I planned the entire fest, how we executed it, how we set up the budget, and so on.
So they themselves are leaving these clues and these hooks for you
They try
to grab
to.
onto the same things that you've written in your application. And I think connecting those dots becomes very important in those moments. How did you feel you did after you came from the interview?
I think this was my best interview
out of all
those, because ISB interviews are very much focused on your profile, and whatever knowledge I had was on those Google sheets where I've gone through each and every aspect of my profile.
Correct.
And my general knowledge was per se very limited. I spent maybe 15-20 days reading the newspaper and so on. So all the other interviews try to go into the segments of general knowledge. What is going around the world, if there's something, what are your thoughts on this? ISB interviews are very dedicated on what you say and what you have done. And mainly one question that has been asked in each of these segments are what are your learnings from this? So I had spoken with a few seniors from ISB. They told me, go prepare this question. What have you learned? What would you have ddone better? And so on. So
learnings from any aspect of life, not just learnings from an academic sense, right?
Of course. So each and every portion. So as for us, it was limited to my college fest. What have you done? What have you learned from here? What is one thing that you could have changed or you could have made better? And this replicated into every. So there were 4 conversations per se. One was about my engineering, one was about my sports, one was about the entrepreneurial venture I had, and one was about my college fest. Each of these, they asked me this question.
Interesting. You mentioned a lot of times about profile. The word profile is, coming as a part of your answer to many of my questions. To any aspirants who are today watching you, what would be your recommendation for profile building, especially from the perspective of a fresher, someone who's still in college in the final year, taking the CAT, about to enter into or aspiring to enter into their dream B school? What would your tips be from your own experiences of profile building so that you can, communicate to our aspirants that they can also have a well-balanced, holistic profile like yours?
So the important thing here is you don't decide CAT, taking up the choice of CAT in a very last moment, because things get very hard if you have, say, 1 year, you'll spend that time preparing for the examination, preparing for the interviews. I think if you make this decision, say, a year or 2 back, that's where you have the time to build up your profile. So if you're in college, you end up taking a leadership role in a lot of committees where you are handling things, be it a small committee or a big committee. I don't think this information is very revealed to those to the interviewers. But if you take up a leadership position, you're actually able to convey things because you are making an impact.
Correct.
That's one thing. Second thing, if you're able to start working in a company, be it a startup where you are actually trying out a venture of your own, I think that is something. Maybe you start doing a thing with your friends.
Correct.
You start on a small scale. You're delivering things to a building. You bring up a new product where you pitch it out to say 50 people.
Correct.
Something similar to a Shark Tank. But if you do things like this brings an impact that this guy is trying to do something. He has that spirit where he wants to be an entrepreneur.
Because very rightly said, because test prep is obviously a very important part, but oftentimes aspirants probably oversee the importance of profile building, right? Because it not just enhances your profile, also gives you wonderful things to talk about as driving points in the conversation when you're facing the B school panelists. And I'm sure that the experiences that you mentioned, whether it be your POR or the position of responsibility you held in your college days, or the entrepreneurial drive and the spirit that you displayed, in some of the other interview conversation, they were tested.
It was 100%.
And it must have proven a good driving point for you also to talk about the conversation.
And here I feel like
Yeah,
adding
yeah,
one.
sure.
For example, if you decide in taking up, say, a social work,
Yeah.
you don't just join an NGO. You try to head a program in that NGO where you're launching an initiative of your own.
Correct.
This is where I think is the key factor, because if there are 1,000 candidates, 900 of them would have been a part of an NGO, because see, each IIM or each college values social
Sure.
up to a point.
Yeah.
But if you're actually heading, say, a venture of their own, if you're leading a cleanup drive, I think that's where the difference actually is.
Makes sense. And it gives that impact that you were talking about. It shows that leadership trait in you that's probably waiting to be honed further. And these are the kind of indicators that they are looking for in future managers and leaders. Any tips, any mantras that you would like to leave for our audience here who is watching you, the future aspirants for CAT and B schools? Any tips from your side?
So there'll be two things. Firstly, I'll say that if you have a strong section in CAT, you go after it. Because that's where the key difference is. If you say score a 20, 20, 20 in each section, you reach up to a point where you have a 90, 95 percentile. But if you feel you have a strong section, and each and every person has one,
Sure.
be it English, be it DILR, be it quants,
Yeah.
someone or the other has some strong. You go after, you chase that section, you aim for a 50 in that section, and that is where the key difference lies. Secondly, which is, I say from experience, don't take any pressure on that last day. It is your one shot, you give it your all, and you go bindas, you go bindas, in simple words.
No, I love the fact that you said that you had nothing to lose. Yeah, you went in completely unfazed by what lies ahead, and maybe your brain worked the best in such a circumstance. Thank you for talking to us. Thank you for sharing your experiences. I'm sure the wider MBA aspirant community will benefit surely from your experiences that you've shared, especially from the point of view of ISB PGP YL program, which is the first time it's starting this time around. We wish you all the best, of course.
Thank you very much.
In your B school journey ahead. We hope to see fantastic achievements coming out of your corporate career and your future family business leadership that you will be a part of. Thank you again for speaking to us. This has been Darsh Shah. We've had a wonderful time talking to him. He's been a part of the IMS classroom program here in Ghatkopar, Mumbai, and he's leveraged the IMS resources. He's prepared for CAT, got a whopping 99.57 percentile, and he's shown time and again, like all IMS students have done, that with real grit, perseverance and determination, and of course with the right guidance and mentorship, anything is possible. So all of you who are preparing for the CAT in CAT 2025, take inspiration from such amazing super achievers, and we wish you all the best. Thank you again for being here with us. Thank you so much.